Yeah, we'll call this meeting to order. And I'd like to recognize that this meeting is being held together today on the traditional and unceded territory of the Lillooet people. Could I have someone move approval of the agenda? Moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Richmond. And opposed, motion carries. Could I have someone move the consent agenda? Moved by Director Herbert, seconded by Director Mack. Anyone opposed, motion carries. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none. CAO verbal update.
Just one point, Chair, maybe the that tentative meeting with
Yes.
Vancouver Coastal Health, which is the tentatively planned, I believe, now for the 7th of Feb.
Yeah.
And that was the annual, which you would know more about, the annual sort of come together with the 3 regional districts and a conversation about capital planning, but we don't have any further information than that. Just a date on the calendar.
So that would be a chair and vice chair thing. And is that around the master plan?
No, it's that MOU. So we have an MOU with Vancouver Coastal and the 4 regional hospital districts that an annual meeting is shared to share regional priorities. It hasn't turned out the way we would like it to, and we would like it to be better. So
Yeah, no agenda, no, just the same meeting and a date on the calendar. So.
Go ahead,
Just
Jenna.
to clarify, is that a chair and CAO or do you? Yeah, great.
It's chair and CAO. That said, it's a council day, so it's not planned with calendars of those involved. So I think we'll go back to them and say that the 7th doesn't work. And hopefully it doesn't work for the other regional hospital districts, and they'll reschedule it based on our availability.
Yeah, it's EAP.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, CAO Dalton. Mover seat.
Yeah.
Director Richmond, seconded by Director Rainbow. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We now have the information report from Director LaFrance coming in hot. Good afternoon, Director LaFrance.
Good afternoon.
We'll turn it over to you. We are on provisional budget bylaw number 48.
Great. So to save a little bit of staff time, what I did for this meeting was take the provisionary budget that was approved in December and as a starting point for what the board wishes to do with the 2023 budget. So there was instruction to keep the requisition flat. So there wasn't really any changes to complete, but with the discussions, I can then update the budget and bring it back to the February meeting for further review by the board. So this current budget is the provisionary budget. I did update the tax requisition information as the assessments for 2023 were now available. So you'll see that in the attachment of this report. There is VCH's capital request that is not included as well in this budget. And I'm not sure of that. It was just a provisionary budget request from VCH, and I'm not sure if they will have additional requests coming through. And so it's pretty loose meeting, and I just hope that the board will start with what they feel the 2023 budget should accomplish.
Okay, thank you very much for that. last year, we made a resolution as a board that we would not release any more funds for any more capital improvements as per the request of Vancouver Coastal Health until the master planning process was in train. As far as we know, that has not yet begun, and therefore I think that resolution holds until we have confirmation from Vancouver Coastal Health. That said, our budget is to continue the requisition as intended and hold those funds until an appropriate resolution to our resolution is shown. Would everyone agree to that?
Absolutely, and I think we can back down on this side of this.
Director Richmond?
So yeah, I mean, I still support that position. I would suggest that part of the motion we come up with today includes further correspondence with VCH saying we maintain our position that you won't be seeing any capital funding until such time. Where are you at with that process? Because I'd very much, it's come up a number of times just recently for me. So I'd like to know where they're at with that. So to your point, from a revenue standpoint, flat, nothing really discussed as far as I'm concerned. With the absence of VCH funding, you know, that leaves that to the side. So I guess my question is, where are we at in that process of outside of the VCH requests, trying to understand other local healthcare needs and talking to our providers and all that sort of thing and getting their input? I know our hospital district board met last night, not district, but our hospital foundation board met last night. And so I'm just wondering how we're doing for gathering that information.
I think where I continue to sit on many different committees of the primary care network, the hospital foundation in Squamish, the Whistler Healthcare Foundation, and continue to try and get as much information from those groups until we have the master plan. Like everything rides on that master plan from all of these groups. The Whistler Healthcare Foundation continues to collect money, but they're really not spending that money until they know what the master plan looks like. And so as recently as yesterday, I responded back again to the COO of Vancouver Coastal saying we've been patiently waiting for this process to begin and to be shared with us. And that is, you know, we've been patient. Let's get this on with, and haven't heard back today, but I'm hopeful that Councillor Stoner and I will be meeting with her before February 7th to hopefully get something. We've heard from the Squamish Hospital Foundation that their intention is to move forward with a CT scanner as a minimum level of care for the Squamish Hospital. They are raising their funds. The Whistler Healthcare Foundation is contributing their funds. So I think those projects are still being dreamed in all of these different groups and continuing to bring that information up. I would suggest that we would want to have these groups come to this board as as individual delegations to share where their strategic planning has moved.
I'd like something like that, because I'm when I opened the budget, I mean, okay, like I said, revenues are revenues, sort of solve that. I don't feel at all informed to direct any of these funds in the absence of the master plan and in the absence of better, for me anyway, better, or hearing more from our local providers up and down the corridor as to what they need. You know, we're still doing things in isolation. We heard from the CT scan, you know, we heard that pitch last year, and that's great, and there was general support, but you know what I mean? It's still pieces. It's not a holistic look. And I know we need the master plan from VCH, but I also know there's other local priorities that are being discussed amongst our foundations. And so I don't know that we need to come up with them. I'm happy to leave it in the chair's hands and CEO to sort of come up with a plan to get that information together, whether it's inviting these folks to a meeting to hear from them each individually, but we need to understand the broad picture of healthcare needs up and down the corridor before we can allocate any of these funds.
Absolutely agree. I'm just going to go to CAO and then I'll come back to you.
So I'd just say that we would support the board chair in that work, because I think we have a role to play from an administrative perspective in bringing that information together in a way that'll help the board do that thinking. So
Yeah. I mean, we're a lot farther along than we were 3 years ago.
100%.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to build on what Mike was saying. If we have the foundation people come and talk to us, that's good for us.
Mhm.
It's also good for them
Mhm.
to sort of see this board and to understand what our role is and that we are working with them. And I'm not sure that they fully understand that. I know I'm involved with the hospice and the people that show up on committees there, they haven't got a clue what about the hospital district and the hospital district board. They don't know anything about it. So I think there is that two-way street there that's really worthwhile.
Yeah, great. Go ahead.
Just, and maybe I'm getting too much into the weeds here, but is there an opportunity to have these groups sort of present, like all be there the same day and listen to each other and sort of build a collective understanding of what the needs are so they can sort of understand and help us balance the things we need to balance?
I think that would be amazing. We could convene, yeah.
And if we do something like that, I think involve the hospice.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. They've been a recipient in the past. They should absolutely be included.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Question for Suzanne then. So as we're looking at the budget process, again, revenues to the side, when we're looking at expenses, we don't need to determine our expenses. Like we can make adjustments to the budget as we go, because what we're describing here is going to take you a little time to coordinate. And then we got to take that information. And so I see this being as a process that'll take a few months.
Yeah.
And therefore that'll put us behind the budget, but that shouldn't impact our budget process in that the money will stay in our account. And if on June 1st, the board decides they would like to allocate X amount of funds to whatever project, we can just make that budget change at that point, right? So in terms of the budget process, what we're proposing here should not encumber the budget process. Is that fair, Suzanne?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, we'll just keep the funds in the reserve until they're required. And if there is a project that happens to come up this year, we can just amend the budget by law.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
I agree with the direction around the master planning process, and I'd like to know more from our various boards, but I feel like there's somewhere there's a challenge around duplicating the work or starting what could be considered, one of the opening steps of what should be a master planning process. And I don't want to take on that work too far, but I don't think what's described gets us there, but just as a cautionary bit as far as if we go, there's a going too far with that, and that should really go to Vancouver Coastal Health. But I think we can do some of that, but I just want to be conscious of that. I don't know where that line is, but
Yeah. Everyone come in with your $10 million projects and we'll.
yeah.
I think it's a fair point, Armand. I think I don't think it's a line. I think it's an overlap. I think that, you know what I mean? And we'll have to be a little bit disciplined to make that separation. The VCH has VCH mandates and responsibilities. That's where their master plan is going to be obviously focused on. Some of the stuff that our foundations or hospice or other societies might bring, or providers might bring forward, might overlap into that. But I think we could identify that and move forward with it. I don't think it's a duplication, but I think it's a really good point.
Okay.
So do you want a motion to direct chair and CEO to go do that? Is there enough direction here? You guys are good, right?
I think we're good.
Yeah, excellent. I like that. Motion to not make a motion.
So moved. All right. Anything else, Director LaFrance, that we should be keeping our eye on?
No, I don't think so. Just that, without VCH's approval, we could take on 100% of the cost of projects within the medical centers. If we did have that partnership with the VCH, we only would pay 40%, right? But without that, we still can continue and pay 100% of the expenses. So there's always that option to go without the VCH support.
Okay, great. Thank you. So can I have a motion to receive the information report moved by Director Rainbow, seconded by Director Richmond? Further comments? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That was, and thank you very much for being here today. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Mhm.
All right. Chair's verbal. Well, I think I've shared everything through today about our meetings and our challenges getting those meetings, but we're on it. We're on it. The other thing that I wanted to share is that there is quite a lot of interest in other regional hospital districts, and I've been meeting with the chairs of the other regional hospital districts to share what we have been doing, but to also learn from them about the challenges that in Thompson-Nicola Regional Hospital District, for example, they've had a number of hospitals closed for days and days and days, and the challenges that presents these rural and remote communities is something that affects everyone. And Port Hardy, for example, has been closed, and Merritt and a number of hospitals. And these are in areas where this is life or death. And not that we aren't, but it's challenging. And I think that there is a great interest amongst all of the elected officials in these areas to no longer sit back and say, it's not our problem. Everybody's looking to help each other. And I think that we will, I think we can no longer ignore that the healthcare system needs all hands on deck, even though it's not our jurisdiction. We need to support and sort of, what is it? When the tide rises, all ships. Go ahead, Director Mack.
I had the pleasure of going to the clinic last week and talking to Dr. Finnegan. So Dr. Ho had moved back to Australia. So I said, oh, we're down a doctor. And he said, no, actually, we're up 2. So I know that's one, it's wonderful. So Dr. Ho leaves and they recruited 2 lady doctors who have come in, and they're gonna share that one position. So, I mean, we are so fortunate here. We've got wonderful, wonderful people. Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, everyone says, what's Pemberton doing? I'm like, we don't talk about it. Okay, let's.
It's like when you're a young parent, your baby sleeps, you don't say that to tell another parent that.
Exactly. ahead.
If I could just make a comment to your report there. You know, and I always and continue to support our position with VCH and the approach we've taken, because I didn't like, I won't rehash why we've taken that position. But I do think that once we have we do have a role in supporting VCH for the reasons that you just said. You know, there's failing health services all over the province right now. And you're saying other jurisdictions are looking at us going, you know, what do you got? Yeah, you're not funding VCH. What are you guys doing there? It makes me chuckle. But I think it's important that we've taken that stance because they haven't provided what we need. We don't have a full picture, a broad picture of what the needs are. We find ourselves spending money, making repairs to their facilities that should be part of their operational budget, in our opinion, all those reasons. But that doesn't mean personally that I'm not interested in supporting VCH initiatives. There are providers. They do need some support. They don't get enough from the province themselves. I don't want to fix a shower or a toilet that should be operated, but so I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
Projects, yes.
Say capital projects, things that fit into our whole plan. So, and that's a response to your comments, right? Like there's struggling healthcare services all over the province. As part of this board, I still want to support VCH, just not in the manner that it's been done in the past.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
They can treat us from their industry. That's.
I think it just became the norm is all.
Yeah.
That's
Their capacity is challenged.
Just one thing, so last week I had a resident call. We have people in this community area that are on kidney dialysis. And the closest one is Lionsgate. I believe there is one in Squamish. But accessing is difficult. So anyways, this guy phoned me and said, well, why don't we just get one here? So I phoned Dr. Fuller and said, what do you think of that idea? And he said, well, it's a wonderful idea, but we don't have the room here, and we don't have the qualified staff to maintain and run this thing. So he said, as sad as it sounds, Squamish, you know, some of these older people that are having issues almost need to move to Squamish to be within, you know, bus distance, whatever, of the hospital. And I said, gee, that's kind of, you know, tough to take at some point, right? But anyways, through that, I asked him if he would be interested in meeting with yourself and me and you, if you might, just to sit down and have him explain, because he said, we've got lots more needs. And then he said, we need a new clinic. And I went, okay, you know,
We do.
and we do. I mean, absolutely, we do.
Next flood of notes.
But now we're talking that 10 or 20 million deal, right? So anyways, he's going away for 2 weeks, but maybe the middle of February, we could meet him at the clinic.
Or as part of what the chair
Yeah.
and the CEO are trying to do, bring them here, so for the whole.
Yeah.
So everybody hears. it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to receive my report.
Oh, Chair,
Go ahead, Jenna.
just briefly, last term you circulated the Alberni Clayquat Health Network strategic plan. And I think that's something that we should maybe bring back. I think the issue here is capacity, but I think we're starting to come back around to this idea. So it might be something worth considering how we build something more resilient in the long term.
Absolutely. Thank you. Let's bring that back to the next meeting. Thanks. All right. Move along to any late business? No? Any notice of motions? Not today. Someone move adjournment. Moved by Director Rainbow, seconded by Director Herford. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 4:05, Mike.
6 minutes, you got 6 minutes to spare there. Tony, you got
Fine.
talk for 6 minutes. It's